What's going on, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, and I don't really have too much to talk about today. Fishy, fishy, fishy. But we're sitting here in the fish room. We'll keep the camera rolling, and we'll shoot off the cuff for a minute or two. Anybody seen this new YouTube layout? Anybody opted in? And I don't know if it's officially a beta tester or not of it, but I've been playing around with that recently, and I'm undecided if I like it or not. I think I like the new dark mode, I think they're calling it. Kind of turns the page black, and in my opinion, it makes the video pop. So if you're going ahead and watching one of my videos, why don't you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and why don't you try out this new dark mode on the new YouTube layout and let me know if my videos look any better that way or better the other way, or why don't you take a vote over here. Hit the button, and let's hear what everybody has to say about the new layout and whether or not they like my videos better in this new format or not. Anyway, I'm sitting over here in front of one of the German blue ram tanks. This is the 29-gallon tank where I had the 8 rams from Coral Bandit, the Coral Bandit rams. And I finally got around to studying the tank long enough and identifying a couple of pairs, and I moved 2 sets of pairs into different tanks, and I'll take the camera off the tripod in a minute and show that. I moved a couple of them that way and a couple of them that way. Let's grab the camera and see where everybody is now. So this is the 20 high where I had the 2 rams that had not recently come from Coral Bandit. These were the 2 rams that had come from Uniting here a while back. I lost one of those 2 recently, and the one that was left I picked up and moved into the tank behind me, and I moved what appears to be a pair into this tank together. And it seems like they're starting to scope out that clay saucer, flower pot base or whatever. I moved them in here yesterday. They seemed a little bit shell-shocked at first, but they're doing perfectly fine now. Their colors are popping. There's the male up there through some very dirty glass. Man, I'm sorry about all the spotting on the glass. See if we can't get this thermometer out of my way. Very fancy thermometer. Measures therms. But you can see the female looks like she's ready to breed. Her tube is out. I'm not even sure how you pronounce that. Ovipositor, I think, is the correct scientific term for it. But that piece of gray slate right there is from the tank that they used to be in. And they were hovering over that piece of slate very, very often. So I made sure to move that with them in case that's their favorite breeding site or something like that. And they have a couple of other places where they could start spawning. Like I said, that flat saucer. I've got a couple of flower pots that are in here on their sides. They could choose to use that. Another smaller flat saucer. But you can see they're bouncing back and forth between a couple of different flat spots here. And rams are a dwarf cichlid that prefer to spawn on flat surfaces. And there they go. They're starting to peck and clean that surface, and that's usually an indication that they're potentially getting ready to breed, or at least potentially getting ready to lay eggs. The fact that both the female and the male seem to be pecking away a little bit is definitely a good sign. And hopefully I can come back down here in the next day or so and see some eggs. That'd be pretty cool, because my fish room seems to be where breeding goes to die. I try to provide everything I possibly can to get certain species to breed, and I'm just, I don't know, time and time again, not having much luck at it. As I've been talking about recently, I'm planning on renovating the fish room, so I'm not putting all that much effort into breeding stuff right now, but it would still be cool if it happened, like up here in the Epistogramma Honksloy tank, where there's one of the fry that were born, you know, I'm not even sure when now. A couple of weeks ago now. I was starting to put on some size. There's at least 2 of these tiny, tiny fry in here. They're not even so tiny anymore. Now they can finally get picked up by the camera. There's the proud mom. There's Dad back there in the corner, who was very camera shy. That's a beautiful Epistogramma, and I've barely been able to get more than a couple of seconds of footage of this guy since he's been in my fish room for the past couple of weeks, into months probably by now. There's another female in there somewhere too. It seems that the male really enjoys spending his time with that other female, but I've not seen any breeding activity from those guys either. But both females are often colored up in that vibrant yellow breeding color. Even this one, which I'm 99% sure is the mother of that fry that we just saw bouncing around a second ago. Even she is often in those breeding colors, and she's taken back to hanging out in the cave. So she's either getting ready to lay eggs again, or maybe she has laid eggs once or twice and they've not produced anything, or they got gobbled up or something. There's the other female. And she too is in, she's not quite as vibrant as that other female, but she colors up once in a while and gets much, much more yellow than at other times, which again is a sign that she might be ready to do something as well. It's definitely possible that both females could be breeding in the tank. There's the male. I gotta go slow and not scare him. And then over here is the ram tank I began talking about. This is where I had all 8 rams to begin with, and I pulled those pairs out of here yesterday. And that big male right there, he was the sole occupant that had been in the tank behind me, where I just moved that pair. So now I have what I believe to be 4 females in this tank and 1 male, although that one's questionable. That one is probably a female. And it looks like some of the females in this are almost getting ready to breed too. Now, I put that big male in here yesterday, and he had not been in this tank prior. And it looked like within minutes he had paired up with a female. I actually think it's that one right there. But here we are about 24 hours later, and he doesn't seem to be hanging out by any of the females anymore. A couple of the females are pecking at each other. That one hides over here, hangs out by that flower pot. So hopefully we can get another pair out of there. And then the other pair that had been in that tank yesterday that I moved them over here into this 29-gallon tank where I had the juvenile discus up until last week. So they're sticking close to one another. But it doesn't look like they're quite as ready to breed as those other fish I was showing. But they're in the tank together now by themselves, so hopefully if they do breed, they'll be able to focus on what they need to do and don't have to worry about guarding the eggs from other fish. And I'm hoping that might produce some better results for us. But only time will tell. And then the juvenile discus that I moved out of that tank about a week ago are now over here, and all doing extremely well in this 38-gallon tank. Quite honestly, they seem like they've put on a little bit of size already in the past week or so. These are those Tiger Turks, a variant of a red turquoise discus that I got from Eric at Carolina Discus a while back. And you can get a nice impression of how intricate their patterns are and really get a good feel for their colors. They really pop in this tank under this light now. And they got quite a bit of growing left to do. I'd say they've probably doubled in size in roughly the year or so that I've had them. And hopefully they can still put on another couple of inches at the very least, if not even more than that. What else is up in the fish room? We got that beautiful golden ram that I got from Mike over at Michael's Fish Room. The fish has made it through a full quarantine procedure and looks perfectly fine. So I think what I'm going to do is one of these days in the relatively near future is I'm going to grab this guy and move him over into the tank with all those other rams and see if he doesn't want to pair up with some... Oh, I just spooked him by trying to move that thermometer probe. I got a heater malfunction in this tank. This tank is cranking. It's almost up at 90 degrees. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but I'll make sure I don't fry that fish. Red cherry shrimp tank. It's full of moss, full of vegetation. And once you start zooming in and really looking carefully, it is full of shrimp. Shrimp so small my camera can barely focus on them. There's a whole lot of Malaysian trumpet snails in there now. They're picking at the leftover algae wafer that I had in the tank. This is a very difficult tank for me to film. If I move the light a little bit, it doesn't help that you could walk on the duckweed that has accumulated in this tank. I hate duckweed. All the antlers are doing quite well. I had an interesting discovery over here in this tank yesterday. This is where I've got my 2 random apistogramma. And I don't see it now. Where is he? Yesterday there was a tiny little fish swimming around in here, and I thought it might have been fry from the apistos, which would have been an amazing shock considering it didn't look like these guys had any interest in breeding. I don't even think they're the same type of apistogramma. There he is. Oh, he bounced away. Upon closer inspection, it's a small male endler in this tank. Where the hell did he just go? Right there, behind that thermometer. So while my male endlers are beautiful fish, they don't belong in this tank. I didn't intend to put them in this tank, and I didn't go out of my way to put that one in this tank, which means he jumped. Splash. That's my dramatic reenactment of a fish jumping out of one tank into another and pulling a quick little plop. So he seems to be okay. It's quite a dramatic temperature difference between the 2 tanks. Let me grab the digital thermometer. This guy here, Harbor Freight. So what do we got? We got, really? 79? That's very warm for this tank. That shouldn't be. 78.5. Usually this tank's at about 75, 76. And this tank is up to 82.5, as much as 84, 85. So yesterday when I noticed the endler over here in this tank was about 84. And the tank from which he came was at about 76. So it's like an 8-degree temperature difference that fish shocked itself in. I'm amazed he survived long enough for me to even notice him in there. But now I'm reluctant to scoop him up and throw him back in the other tank because, again, I don't want to shock him. These are the 2 discus that had been in the 38-gallon tank where those Tiger Turks are now. And I moved them up here into this 30-gallon tank. And they're doing real well. It's nice to get some of my nicer discus up at eye level. It's so much easier to see them up here. You know, you can see their colors a lot better now up here. I wish I had more large tanks up high at eye level. I tend to keep my larger tanks down low in a lot of situations. I don't know if there's a real reason why, but I do. Here's the angelfish in the 55-gallon tank. I moved that last angel the other day. What the hell? Anybody see him munching on that plant? He just had the stem of that red tiger lotus halfway down his gullet. It's a little weird. It looks like somebody was trying to lay some eggs over here on the glass too. Not very many. A couple of weeks ago I had some eggs that I found over there on the intake tube on the filter, and you got that giant black angelfish that I can never get on camera against this black background. Such a difficult tank for me to film. But all in all, the tank's doing good, except for all the damn duckweed again. I hate duckweed. Oh yeah, I also hate duckweed. Down here, there's that rainbow fish that got born in this tank, which is looking like a dwarf praecox. And I'm amazed at the growth rate on this fish. I mean, that fish is now bigger than that cardinal tetra over there. And he's only been in this tank for, I don't know, maybe it's been 12 weeks or so since I noticed there was a couple of fry swimming around. I'm still not exactly sure what fish spawned it. So surprise fry in the fish room is always cool. Anyway, guys, I'm running out of time. I got things to do. This will be a quick little Fishy Friday fish room update from Rich's Fishes, and I will see you guys next time.